family. My name is Vicki Dillard. Thank you so much for tuning in to African Diaspora News Channel. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast. Thank you so very much. When you do that, you make it more likely that other people will know that we're here, and it strengthens our collective Black voice. And how many of you all know having a strong counter voice to the system of oppression and white supremacy is so important for such a time as this? Yes, thank you so much, family. I have been absolutely fuming listening to this hours-long hearing that was conducted recently by the House Foreign Affairs. It was headed up by Chairman James, Representative James, John James, a Black conservative. And the title of this hearing was examining the current U.S. and South Africa bilateral relationships. There was so much going on. It was absolutely unbelievable what I was hearing. And so I want to focus on this part of the hearing from Representative James when he brings up South Africa's land initiatives. Watch this.
To enforce expropriation without compensation and destroy South Africa's constitutionally protected private property rights. The ANC claims that land reform and EWC are widely popular, but their own surveys show that only 2% of Black South Africans identify land reform as a serious unresolved problem, while 80% prioritize economic growth and more jobs over land expropriation. Despite this, the ANC is currently pushing the expropriation bill and land court bill through Parliament to reward themselves for a job poorly done. There is no country in the world that has remained democratic after removing its population's private property rights, and I remain concerned about the ANC's democratic drift away from constitutional rule, especially in light of the Electoral Amendment Act being signed into law in April. This legislation undermines the fundamental democratic principle of proportional representation. Counting independent votes as votes for the majority, the ANC, is not a step toward constitutional rule. It's a further step away from democracy.
Did you all hear that? They are big mad about South Africa's land reform, and the bit about the land reform that I am aware of, and of course, I am a sister that just is trying to be a voice for the voiceless. So I'm always learning and growing, and I have listened and read about a number of different initiatives concerning this, and I have so much more to learn. But just a little bit, just a cursory read, you can learn. One can know that the land reform in South Africa is about a promise of land restitution to empower farm workers who now have the opportunity to become farmers and reduce inequality. It also refers to aspects such as property, it says here, possibly white-owned businesses. Proponents argue it will allow previously unemployed people to participate in the economy and better the country's economic growth. It relates to the restitution in the form of settling land claims of people who were forcefully removed from their homes in urban areas that were declared white by the apartheid government's Segregationist Group Areas Act. Of course, it talks about how it includes such areas as Sophia Town, District 6, Grayville, and others. Now, let me tell you something about the United States of America. The fact that the United States of America is criticizing acts of restitution, acts of justice to restore to the true owners what belonged to them, because during oppression it was stolen, and the true owners suffered because of it, and the thieves and the oppressors and the bloodsuckers benefited. The idea that restitution and justice be had is antithetical to U.S. white instincts. Let me give you just one of many examples. I have often quoted from this book to many people about how white folks got so rich in the United States. There is a such thing here in the United States as the Homestead Act, among many, many others. The U.S. literally, listen to this quote, the Homestead Act here in the U.S. is probably the most rewarding affirmative action program American whites have ever given themselves. I mean, I'm trying to let you all know why the U.S. would criticize another country trying to make restitution. This Homestead Act. Beginning in 1865, 250 million acres of land nearly the size of California and Texas combined, were given away to whites, many of whom had actually participated in the Southern Confederate Rebellion against America. Let me hit the gavel on that. Y'all know that the Vicki Show was the home of the hand claps and the gavel raps. That means I beat my gavel and I clap my hands. It's a force amplifier. Listen, blacks who had worked this land for generations as slaves and fought for America in the Union Army were not allowed to receive any of it. This piece here said that is akin to giving Al-Qaeda members choice land in Manhattan while telling U.S. soldiers to go to hell. As many as 640 free acres for each white family. Are y'all listening? That's an acre being about the size of a football field and 640 acres being about 1/4 mile were simply snatched from the natives and given to whites. The Homestead Act of 1866 opened up 46 million acres in 5 southern states for the millions of ex-slaves and Union veterans, but only about 1,000 blacks ever received title to land, which most often consisted of uncleared woodlands or refuse tracts of the poorest quality. In reality, the United States government never intended to, quote unquote, give land to the foundation of true freedom to any of its former slaves. The plan was for blacks to be given the opportunity to buy 40-acre lots after working the land for 3 years. And though some ex-slaves were settled for 40-acre farms, the land was quickly seized by whites and, quote unquote, restored to the former slaveholders. Now, this is in addition to the indigenous land of America that never belonged to them in the first place. So keep that in mind when you see the U.S. Congress criticizing another country for taking initiatives and steps to do what they should. When you do what's right, you are tapping into a metaphysical and a spiritual principle that affects multiple dimensions. And the United States, because you take this position and dare criticize others, and because you refuse to make right and bring restitution and reparations to foundational Black Americans, it's exactly why the divine is allowing you to become last and not first, the tail and not the head. It is the reason why modern day Babylon, which is the United States of America in part, is in the position that she's in now. My name is Vicki Dillard. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it below. There's so much to explore and to say about this. I teach about supernatural principles in my upcoming special webinar that I'm going to be doing on your royal bloodline, my ancestors webinar. You don't want to miss it. Be sure to join my email list at vickiplanet.com so that you're notified when the date is released. That's Vicki Planet. That's VICKI planet.com. Be sure to give the video a big thumbs up. I can't wait to see you again.